Hello everyone, it's great to see you again. It's another gorgeous day here in New York's Hudson River Valley. Today, I want to plant 2 flats of these storage onions. But before we start planting, I want to get started on making a French onion tart. We're going to enjoy that tart with a cocktail later today. The recipe for this tart is one that I found online, and I'll be honest with you, it's my first time making it. So you start with 2 cups or 270 grams of all-purpose flour, and I'm putting this in my little food processor. Add a ½ teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then pulse just briefly to combine these ingredients. That's why I like using the food processor. Everything is quick. Okay, now we're going to add 1½ sticks or 170 grams of unsalted butter. This is cold and diced. Then I'm going to pulse the machine a few times just to break up the butter. Now add a ½ cup or 125 mils of ice water. I'm going to add this through the feed tube while the machine is running, and I will run the machine just until a dough starts to form. Transfer the dough to a non-floured work surface, and then knead the dough briefly just to make sure any stray bits of flour become incorporated into the dough. Okay, now form the dough into a ball, flatten the ball into a rectangle, because this tart is going to have a rectangular shape. Wrap it in the cling film. Pop this into the refrigerator for about 1 hour. This way, the flour particles can become fully hydrated. While the dough is chilling, I'm going to change into my sweatshirt, and then we can go up to the kitchen garden to start planting these onions.
Show your face, let me see parts of you. Oh my, our bodies interlace, slow and easy, and I can reach you from a distance. I can, so beautiful, I can hear you.
These are red onions that go by the variety name Red Wing. All red onions are great for winter storage, which is the reason I'm planting so many onions. I like to be as self-sufficient as possible. And I'm spacing the onions about 5 inches apart. I'm going to finish planting this bed, and then I will meet you back in the kitchen. My dough has chilled, so now we can roll it into a 10-inch by 14-inch rectangle. I am using a lightly floured pastry cloth here, and I will link the cloth in the description below if you are interested. So I went slightly larger than 10 inches by 14 inches, so I'm going to trim the dough. Transfer the dough to a parchment-lined baking sheet. Now I'm going to sprinkle this pastry with some shredded Gruyere cheese. You want to sprinkle the cheese right to the edge of the pastry. I will link this recipe in the description below. If a little cheese is good, more is better. Then I'm going to snip some of these chives from my garden right on top of the cheese. The recipe writer said to scatter fresh thyme leaves over the top, but I don't have any fresh thyme right now, so I'm going to use dried thyme leaves. I'm going to pop this into the refrigerator while we prepare the onions. According to this recipe, you're supposed to use 1¼ pounds of onions. And you peel and halve them and then cut them into half moons, keeping the moons intact. Easier said than done, because I cut a bunch of onions into half moons and a lot of them fell apart. So we will make this work. Now arrange the onions in slightly overlapping diagonals. We're going to try to do this without all of these half moons falling apart. But if they fall apart, we will make do. You just have to be patient here. I've come to the conclusion that you can arrange these onions in any fashion that you like. Brush the onions with some heavy cream. The cream will help the onions to brown. This is the only kind of painting I like to do. Then dot the onions with bits of butter, about 3 tablespoons of butter in total. The butter will add extra flavor. It will also encourage browning, just as the heavy cream does. Give the onions a generous sprinkling of kosher salt. You can assemble this entire tart well ahead of time. Just cover it loosely with cling film and then pop it into the refrigerator. When you are ready to bake, preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius and bake until the crust crisps and the onions color. That's going to take from 30 to 40 minutes, depending on your oven. And you do want the onions to become very tender in the oven. Let's check on our French onion tart. Oh, it is done. It smells divine and it looks beautiful. I'm going to transfer the tart to this board for easy slicing. And by the way, I love these oven gloves. Link in description. Cutting these into all kinds of shapes. No rules. While the tart was baking, I went ahead and prepared my signature hummus, which includes Greek yogurt and lemon juice and olive oil and pine nuts. And I have some red bell pepper wedges for scooping up the hummus. I also made some guacamole, and I know you've seen me make guacamole in the past. So here it is. You're going to have a lovely little feast. I'm having a very dry martini with 3 olives, which I think will go very well with this French onion tart and the hummus and the guacamole. You might prefer to have a goblet of white wine or a glass of iced tea. Of course, I have to taste of this French onion tart. I love everything about this tart. I love the crisp pastry crust. I love the chives. I love the thyme. I love the cheese. And I adore the onions, which caramelize beautifully in the oven. So I hope you will give this wonderful appetizer a try someday. Thank you for spending time with me in the garden and the kitchen today. I really appreciate your company. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye for now.